Are you stuck? How about unhappy? Join Alena Chapman, author, mentor, and life coach for Magical Moments with Alena as she challenges you to get out of the doldrum and start living your life to the fullest. In just 60 minutes, Alena will help you take control of your life and push you to do the things you never thought you'd do. So get ready to take back your power and celebrate life with Magical Moments featuring Alena Chapman.
Welcome to Magical Moments, and I am your host, Alena Chapman, and you know, folks, it's all about that ease and betterment in your life. This is the show that wakes up your spirituality, and I am so happy to have you here today. We have the most amazing people that come on that show you that the spirituality is not that it's easy, but it's so attainable, and that everyone, no matter how high up on that evolution that they're going or just starting out, we are all the same. We are all going the same way. We all like our lattes or whatever. We are all people. So with that, today, I have an amazing woman on today. Her name is Haley Hoffman Smith. She is a professional speaker and spirituality coach who has recently been named as one of the today's most influential speakers by Forbes. And with a TikTok community of over 290K plus strong. That's amazing, just amazing. She is passionate about helping others bring their pipe dreams to reality and achieve subconscious breakthroughs. Don't we all need that? She hosts a podcast on manifestation and motivation called Big Conversations, and is the author of Her Big Idea. I like that very much. A book on creativity, ideation, which is the first time I've ever heard that word that way, so I like it. And Women's Empowerment, which is named a must-read by Tory Burch Foundation and Forbes. They like you at Forbes. Haley graduated from Brown University in 2018 and stays close to campus with her Big Idea Fund in partnership with Brown University Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship, which awards grants to women who apply with big ideas. I think you're getting it here, folks, right? Haley has spoken at institutions such as Harvard, Yale, SoGal Ventures, which I really love that title, and more. And she coaches one-on-one also, so remember that, to help ambitious women to manifest and create their plans of attack for their dream lives. With that, hello, Haley.
Hello. How many times did I cram the word big into that bio?
I know. I think we got it. We're big on manifestation. We're big, but that's okay. It's all right. It is big. It's a big world. It's a big universe, you know? So yes, I can see that. Well, all right. Obviously, my dear, you are a person who is a creator, a master manifester. I mean, look at 290K plus, I think, on TikTok. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Look at what you've done. Started in 2018. Look where you're going. You are a manifester. We all manifest, but you are creating your life.
Yeah.
So, all right. So my first question to you is, so what about the bad days? What about the days when you are frustrated or when there's just these challenges and you know, it's not all rainbows and, every morning I get up and there's just unicorns and beautiful rainbows shining my way to the truth, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, the bad days, we can't sugarcoat it and say they don't happen frequently. I mean, obviously when we talk in spirituality and we talk about positivity and gratitude, it's a yes and thing. You can both be grateful and have hard days. I think the perspective that's really served me and served my community is around that quote by Abraham Hicks that says, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you.
For you,
so the more that you can look at the challenges that are arising and ask yourself, well, why is this happening? And if it is happening for me, what reason do I think that is? That can really help to bring perspective to the situation.
It does.
It can alleviate a lot of suffering too. You know, any type of mindless suffering where it seems like, well, why am I going through this? That's where a lot of people get stuck and they feel like they're a victim in their lives. But if you can turn it and be like, okay, no, how is this showing up to help me evolve the planet, help me evolve in my own life, then you can find a lot of peace in that and purpose. And it makes the hard days a little bit easier to, do your self-care, watch a Netflix show, tub of ice cream, but also feel like you're still connected.
We all need those days to just chill out, watch. And I love it because you can live somebody else's life for 2 hours or so.
Yeah. I know. It's such a transformative experience. Transported to a different reality. Yes.
I know. Isn't that true? And I do think, I love what you say, because it's true. It's true. If you know that life is happening for you, and you know that the universe has your back, and that you really are not alone, and that you're here to learn lessons.
Yes.
Then when that lesson comes, you're not all up in arms. It's one of the coolest things. It's that belief, that firm belief. Yeah. So with that, I wanted to know also, how did you start in your own spirituality? Because that is spirituality.
Yes. Yeah. I'll say that I dabbled in other religions while growing up. And it was my college, it was right when I started college, my freshman year of college, I just felt so lost. I really wanted something bigger for myself. I was going to a state school that I just didn't feel aligned with, and I just felt really lost. And so I would be searching on the internet late at night, because I always felt like, and it sounds kind of funny, but I always felt like there was magic out there as a kid. I remember asking my parents, I meant asking Santa for a ring that if you could point the ring at anything and it would make something appear. And I always just had this sense of like, no, there has to be some way that if you want something, you can make it happen. I just always believed in magic. And so I think it was, part of me looking for that. So I watched The Secret. That's usually people's like first point of entry into spirituality and manifestation. I was new to all of it, but I'd listened to affirmations at night. I remember just crying in my dorm bed my freshman year, hearing affirmations like, I am worthy, I am beautiful, like I deserve the life of my dreams. It was my first time ever thinking that way. And really? It was overhaul work, but getting to the place where I felt empowered to put whatever I wanted on my vision board and believe that I could make it happen. And then in my waking reality, I was also working really hard on top of that, because I obviously think like there's strategy to it, but there's on the other side of the subconscious work and the spiritual work. And I was putting in so much action on a day-to-day basis to transfer out of the college where I didn't feel aligned and go after my big life dream. So alongside truly manifesting, using the vision board, using the affirmations, I also was working my tail off to get a 4.0 I started a nonprofit. I was in student government at that campus. And then I got into Brown my junior year of college. And once I was able to see that I could do that, completely transform my life, it was really a 180. When I got to Brown, I started dreaming even bigger dreams. And for that meant to me like traveling to Europe, traveling to Paris. And I manifested the money. I won a contest and traveled to Paris my senior year and was able to pay for it. And all these things started to happen, but it was really that like first core belief. But also it was prompted by this need for something to change. Something had to be different, because I felt so lost and so stuck. And so many people arrive in that place where they feel stuck and they're like, I don't know where else to turn. And that's when they give manifestation or spirituality a try.
It is funny that so many of us have to reach that point before we ask.
Yes.
We have to get uncomfortable. We have to get so uncomfortable, so stuck. And we finally say, help. How do I do it? We don't do it any other way. It's so funny, isn't it?
Yeah. And going back to things happening for you, so that it makes so much sense why I got stuck. If I had never gotten stuck, I would have never been able to tap into how much more is out there. So anytime somebody comes to me, I work with so many coaching clients who come to me so stuck. I'm like, think the situation, because something had to happen that made you so uncomfortable with where your life is currently that you did something you never would have otherwise thought to do. And now instead of living like this good life, you can go towards this grand life. Like you can really create it rather than just chugging along, saying this is good enough.
Isn't that something? I didn't learn about vision boards until I was well on my way. But when I wrote my first book, I wanted to be an international best-selling author. Knew nothing on how to write a book. But I remember I made a tape. I made this tape that said, and I played it when I put on my makeup in the morning, when I was in the car, everywhere. And it was this really cheerful tape that said, Alena, you did it. You are international best-selling author. And it went on for like a paragraph, about almost half a minute. But I'll tell you, hearing my own voice saying to me that I did it, that I am conquering what I wanted to conquer, that things are coming into creation, it gave me this incredible surge forward. It was powerful. That was a nice little tool.
And I think there's something to be said for that with the subconscious mind, which is when I talk about subconscious breakthroughs, it's because your subconscious mind rules your life experience, and your subconscious has to believe that something is possible, that something is safe, and that you are worthy of it for it to come to fruition. So what was happening was that while you were doing mindless tasks, like putting on your makeup, you were in your subconscious mind because you're going through the motions. Like you put on mascara 1,000 times before. Right. And so your subconscious mind hears your voice saying it and thinks, because you're in a subconscious state, oh, that's me saying it. It must be true. So that's what I do too. At night, I use the app ThinkUp, and I've recorded all these affirmations. Like, for example, I just moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Manhattan, something I'd been manifesting for a while. And I'd had this affirmation: I am so grateful to be living in my 2-bedroom apartment. And that would be playing every night. And then it was so funny. The other night I was listening to my affirmations while I was falling asleep, and usually it is mindless. And I heard that one was still in there. And it was the coolest moment of, oh my gosh, I listened to that affirmation for months and months. And now I'm in my 2-bedroom apartment falling asleep, and I've forgotten to delete that affirmation, but here we are now. But that's the thing. It signaled to my subconscious mind when I was falling asleep, oh, this is me saying it. And if that's already true, then of course I should permit that into my reality. Of course I should be looking for opportunities here. So that's where the really exciting work can start. And I also think that's where spirituality can be bridged with science, because there's so many people who are like, I don't know, spirituality is pretty woo-woo for me. And I'm like, all right, let's talk about the subconscious then. Like, I think the two are the same. Just like there's always that discussion around like faith or science. Nope, spirituality and the subconscious kind of together. Just what you believe you can do.
For a very, very long time. The Germanics, way back, even the Mayans, the Germanics, they were scientists, but all the laws of the universe came from scientists. So they were the Germanics. Yes. All the laws of vibration, the law of attraction, all the spiritual laws came from science.
Yes.
And more and more nowadays, we're coming back to it. More and more we're starting to see. They just proved that each cell, we all knew it had a vortex in it, a little ball of energy in each cell, right? There's a report, I just interviewed Dr. Vargas, and he was saying they're finding there's light in every cell. That energy is light. Oh my gosh, there you go.
Yeah.
More and more it's linking up that when you have an open mind and you're discovering, it's just linking up with the spirituality incredibly. So we're lit up with light. And when our emotions hit it, like we are sad, that light dims in every cell.
Oh. Like kind of made me sad. Yeah.
But it shows it does, Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
And it just shows us how much we affect our energy, we affect our spiritualness, our connection, and the light inside of us. The light of mine.
Yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
So when you are I want to kind of keep on some sort of rule here. What would you say if someone was you coach people, so do I. So what what steps, or what do you think are probably the two? Let's do two of the most important steps that you think are really good when you feel that way, where you're stuck and you say, okay, there's got to be more to life. How do I grow? What do I start with? What would you say is one of the most valuable?
I would say the very first step to understanding why you're stuck is to find the link, honestly, between your subconscious mind and your waking reality. And people are stuck for a number of reasons, but it always goes back to something that happened before you were stuck. Usually the younger the younger the better when you look closely. I'll ask something like, oh, something happened in childhood or when you're in high school, something that's informing your experience right now. Because ways that people get stuck are when something traumatic happens. It doesn't have to be traumatic in the way that we think of the like very tragic sense of the word, but something traumatic like a sense of self that was lost, a huge life change, even like a devastating breakup can be very traumatic. Any type of mind altering, life altering, anything, a major rejection when you're working towards something for a really long time, it can spark a neural pathway in the subconscious mind around that thing. So let's just say an example, maybe somebody comes to me and they say, it was always my dream to be a singer, but I haven't sang in years and I'm in this career where I feel really unfulfilled and I'm just stuck. I don't know where to go. Well, then I'd be able to look back and say, okay, well, why, like, where's this unfulfillment coming from? Why don't you sing anymore? And there's usually a memory attached. Oh, I auditioned for this choir. I thought my entire life I was a good singer and then I didn't get the choir. I kept getting rejected, or I posted a video on YouTube and I got all these mean comments. Ding, ding, ding. Well, no wonder you're not singing, right? There's a part of your subconscious mind that's like, when I do the thing that I love, this happens. Or when I do the thing that I love, I get rejected. It doesn't pan out the way that I want it to. So there are an infinite number of potential reasons that someone could get stuck, but it's always related to something that's happened. And it's really about excavating, okay, what core emotion is behind that? What happens that is causing you to think that about your pipe dream or your passion or what it is that you really want to do with your life. So it's starting there. And then also I always ask the question, if I could wave a magic wand over your life, what would it look like in 6 months if everything was perfect? And then it's able to define, okay, if my life was perfect, the magic wand was waved, here's where I would be in 6 months. Here's where I am now. What about that gap feels impossible to me? And that's when we're able to take what feels impossible, define why it feels impossible based off of beliefs that their parents may have had, things that were modeled to them when they were growing up, things that, again, that have happened in their own lives, and then start to delink it. And we delink it using the affirmations, as I said, so doing subconscious reprogramming. And I'm also a huge fan and advocate and personal practicer of emotional freedom technique, or tapping, EFT. Yeah. So I do EFT every 2 weeks. Honestly, I should do it every week. My EFT practitioner is like, let's just, like every 2 weeks is good. But what that does is it rewires your brain. It disassociates neural pathways connected to past traumas. Or when you mentioned the audience of 290K on TikTok. For a really long time, I had no movement with getting any type of audience or any type of exposure because I had a fear of being seen. It didn't feel safe to me. And so I had to rewire all those parts in the brain connected to my actual desire to impact, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, and to feel like, no, it's safe if that many people can see me. It's safe even if I get mean comments, which is what you get when you hit a certain threshold of video views or whatever. Yeah. But the subconscious mind is primarily concerned with keeping you safe. And so it doesn't want you to do anything that is perceived as unsafe. And will I die from a mean comment? No, but it gives me that fight or flight that makes my subconscious mind think getting too much exposure is exactly the same as approaching a bear in the forest. And so it will not allow it into my experience. So it's about addressing the blocks that are making it impossible for your life experience to unfold the way that you want it to. So sometimes people say, well, I made a vision board and nothing happened. And I'm like, it's amazing that you made the vision board, but how much are you looking at it? How much are you giving your subconscious mind the blueprint for it? And most importantly, how much are you addressing the blocks that are underneath the surface that are stopping you from getting what you want? Because again, two sides to that, you have to both get the blocks out of the way and work towards what it is that you want. And that's where so many people get stuck, or they try manifesting once and then it doesn't work out for them because deep down they actually have a fear of it coming to fruition when it comes to the really big things.
I think it's important myself because I do know that so many people do not always understand what's stopping them. You know?
Yes.
Those blocks are so deep within them and they are overlooking it. But you or I can see, it's always it's that privilege of being outside the problem that you can see the problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what's some ways that that people though can start to discover their blocks themselves?
I think it's around analyzing why something feels impossible for them. So a question that my EFT practitioner always asks me that I now use in my coaching session is, what bad thing happens if you get what it is that you want? So somebody says, I just really want to hit 6 figures in my business this year. Okay, well, what bad thing happens if you hit 6 figures? And at first they're like, nothing happens. And I'm like, really? Like, what do your friends think of you? What does your family think of you? Do you think you can handle that much money? And it's usually one of those that they're like, ooh, okay, yeah, you're right. That made me think about my mom and how my mom never made 6 figures in her business. And so she closed up shop. And so therefore I'm worried that it will make her feel bad if I hit 6 figures. Like, it's all, you have to uncover it. A lot of it too is like, I'm sure you know too, we're good at hearing what people are saying and figuring out what the issue could be. But there's also a level of intuition that comes into it too. I've always been highly intuitive. I wouldn't classify myself as psychic, but some weird things have happened. And sometimes I'm just able to sense it when somebody is talking about it. So there's a lot of people who are just that intuitive. So even if you can talk it out with a friend and have that friend say, you know what, based off your behaviors, I actually think it's true that anytime you start to make a lot of money in your business, you self-sabotage. Or every time you get into a really great relationship and you're falling in love, you cut off the relationship and you self-sabotage, or you get really paranoid. Like, your friends can also look for those changes in your behaviors, or people who are closest to you. And then it's about analyzing why. But again, this is like deep excavation work that a lot of people aren't willing to do. Most people are willing to just like keep on going with their lives, assume they'll never have the things that they want, without ever stopping to assess, what are the patterns that I'm living out? How am I practicing these blocks and these emotions that have been present with me from childhood, from what I'm modeling from my parents, or anything that I picked up along the way?
Why do you think that is? Why do you think so many of us will take the self-sabotage and just accept it as, oh, we're not supposed to have it?
I think that self-sabotage is a twisted form of self-love, because we think we're protecting ourselves.
So it's self-love. I like, that's I've not heard
a twisted form of it, a twisted form, because we think we're keeping ourselves safe. So like, going back to that love example, people self-sabotage in relationships, not because they don't want happiness, it's because they're scared of getting hurt. And they self-sabotage in their businesses, not because they, don't want to make a ton of money or be successful. It's because they're scared that it's not possible. Or they play out in their minds, okay, I could get all this success, but I don't think I can handle it. Or I don't think my parents would be proud of me. Or I don't think my partner would be happy for me, or I'd lose friends. Like, there's always little beliefs attached to it. But that's the thing. It's just beliefs, and the beliefs aren't true or false. So the more that we can look at self-sabotage like that, rather than like this invisible enemy that crops up and you either have self-sabotage or you don't, like, it's connected to a core desire and need to feel safe and to feel okay. Yeah. It's just not expressing itself correctly, which is where you need to go into the brain and switch out some neural pathways with these affirmations and EFT tools.
It is. Yeah, it is the tools. I think for me, it was my boys. I have 3 boys, and they said, we went down to go rock climbing, that false rock climbing, the ones inside. Yeah. Well, I had never done that. And they go pretty high up, those things. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I had never gone, and my boys took me down just a few months ago. And I said to them, this is way out of my comfort zone. And my oldest said, he's about 21. He said, Mom, you don't have a comfort zone. I do live outside the comfort zone. And I wouldn't know what to do in that comfort zone now. It would feel very stifling, Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It just keeps expanding. You never return to a small container for it. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, I think I really I just don't feel like the universe will purposely let me fail. I feel like they're there. I feel like I have everything there. And so if something does come in, it's to learn from. It's just keep going and enjoy. Yes. And we've got you. We got you, Alena. We got you. And I really do feel that. And that kind of almost makes you respectful, but not fearful. There's a difference. Yes. Huge difference. It's like it's a co-creation process rather than, I could be punished for something. Yes, it is. It's, I will just, you respect fire, but you can still use it. That's a good one. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So I do love that. But I think, with everything, what do you think scares people about, I know they got the fear of success. We got the standard stuff, but there's something deeper. What really do you think that people in the manifestation itself, do you think they're scared of becoming their own creator?
Yeah, I think for one, a lot of people don't know what that means. They don't believe that they have that power.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the environment that they were raised in, things that happened to them made them feel like they were the victim of their experience. And that makes sense in a lot of stories, honestly. You can't look at somebody and be like, well, there's a lot of things that happen that can feel like you are the victim in your story. And the hardest part is taking full ownership to switch the narrative around and say, from here on out, I'm in control. And I'm working with something that's trying to help me for my highest unfolding. And that is a really hard switch for a lot of people because, as I said, that requires taking full ownership. And the victim story is really easy to cling to because then you don't have to take responsibility. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to feel like you can take responsibility for really horrible, tragic things that have happened. And there's a distinction there. For one, it's like, how did you attract this to you / how can you put this into the proper perspective to see how it happened for you as a way of working with whatever has happened. And that's different than saying, oh, I need to take full responsibility for something that really did feel like it was out of my control, but understanding that you're writing your movie as you go along, the script of your life, so to speak. And that is such a departure from the way that the world has taught us to view ourselves and our lives and what we look to for control, that people get stuck in the transformation process almost. They don't even allow themselves to get on that because it's such a sudden mindset shift, So that's where there almost has to be some
land. It's an unknown land. Transformation is highly unknown. Where am I going? What am I going to become? What am I going to do? It's a very hard. And aren't we in constant transformation?
Oh, absolutely. Constant evolution, expansion.
It is. And it's not scary if you let go and you just say it's okay. I don't even need to see the signs. I know, we're going to be transforming today.
Just another day.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's going to learn. I know it is really something. I think some people get so safe. They get so safe in their worlds that they will succumb to some of the worst things, like marriages that they don't belong in, jobs that they really don't want to do.
Yeah.
They will succumb to anything to stay into that comfort zone.
Yes. And that's the other thing too. I found that the comfort zone never seems more comfy or wonderful than when you are considering making a change, right? Like right before you decide to quit a job, right before you decide to move cities, right before you decide to jump ship on a relationship that wasn't serving you. It's like, but they were so wonderful, or I actually really loved this job. Like that's just your subconscious trying to trick you into staying because it's scary to imagine life on the other side of it. And that happens over and over again. So even when somebody starts to entertain it, if they realize, okay, there's discontent here, I'm going to start to think about it. I'm going to talk it out with a friend. Their subconscious mind will keep pulling them back. I always feel like it happens in the moments that you need the most comfort. Like you have a day where you're like, yes, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to start my own business. I've always wanted to. I'm leaving my job to start my own business. And then you wake up in the middle of the night struck with terror and you're like, no, okay, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Again, your subconscious mind. So learning to talk with it, again, to trust like faith. I thought it was compelling that you said, like, I know the universe won't let me fail. And your belief in that, your knowing, your expectation that you will not fail means you will not fail. There's no way that you will fail. But a lot of people believe they will fail. They just believe that, or they expect it, or they'll say, no, I trust. But deep down, actually, there's an expectation that they will. They don't trust because maybe they saw somebody who had blind trust, so to speak, and they did fail. Maybe their dad growing up was always an entrepreneur and his businesses were always failing. So the family was always broke, or whatever has happened, or they had tried something in the past and they did fail and they don't feel like they have faith in themselves or the universe. Like, again, that's where assessing the beliefs and where the beliefs are serving you versus not serving you is so critical, because the belief in that expectation is literally how you create your life. It's you get what you expect is what all of them say. And it's the truth.
Well, and I do think, I think you're 100% right. 100%. I think that it's easy to say for someone who does feel like the universe has their back, and as you grow in spirituality, you gain that with understanding,
the muscle.
Yeah. But I think it's easy to dismiss that. So many will dismiss that like, oh, they just had a really charmed life, or, oh my gosh, they never really had any struggles. But really, it's not that. It is growing within yourself. Society doesn't allow you to grow up like that.
Yeah.
It does not allow it. If your parents are supportive, those teachers are not.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah.
Kids in school didn't know that rule.
Yeah.
So you had to navigate many different ways. My dad was really great. He said you can be anything. And he was great about not label. I had dyslexia. He never told me. I went on to get 3 degrees, 4.0s and 3.8. Never told me. Just said, you just learn a little bit differently. Let me show you how. That was my dad. Now, however, then you go to school and you're dealing with everything else, and you have to navigate. And it's I really think that once you grow up and you have those hard struggles, you have all that stuff, and you see you're still standing, then my gosh. And things turned out, maybe something like an inspiration came to you in that really hard moment, or maybe that car that was coming right at you suddenly swerved, or maybe something happened that you just thought, wait, this was out of my control. How in the heck did that happen? You start to wake up to, my gosh, there is something there. There is something out for me. There is something that is saying, nope, it's not your time to come to us, Alena. You got to keep going.
Yes.
We're going to help you. I think that's what we have to open ourselves up to. That's the belief system that we have to change. And you do that by feeding the good. You just keep evolving, you keep learning, you fill your life with that spiritual, you touch base with it, you grow with it. And when you start to take the steps to do that, you feel it powerfully every day.
Yeah. And a good place that listeners can start too is just assessing everything that's happened over the course of their lives where they really did feel like, okay, I've hit rock bottom, or I don't know what's coming next, or I don't know how I'm going to pay my next bill, or I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And everything that worked out just so perfectly. Like you're still alive. Like the universe is going to make sure of that. And you're better for it on the other side.
You're better.
I think it's so funny if you do like journaling or whatever, anytime you see something from your past, like a year ago, 2 years ago, and you remember the worries that you had at that time, and how we always wish we could go back and tell our younger selves, oh my gosh, it was going to turn out fine. Why did you spend that night worrying instead of being fully present with your best friends? Like you were literally going to get a life-changing opportunity the next week. Yeah. And then knowing that as you look back, to then be able to live in, because of that evidence and that proof, that excited expectation that everything is going to be okay. In fact, better than your wildest dreams, because we have the evidence that things have just kept expanding. And like what Abraham Hicks says, it just gets better and better and better.
Better and better and better. So, all right. We've talked and we kind of flirted around it, but because you are all about the manifestation of big dreams, what is a key? Like, what is the key to, you've got it, Haley. So what is the key to manifesting?
Yeah, the key to manifesting, I'd say, I always like that deep excavating work term. The key to manifesting is assessing the blocks that are beneath the surface, the beliefs that aren't serving you, the stories that you've been holding on to, and doing the work to change it. It's taking your subconscious mind into your own hands. So, of course, I also believe that gratitude and high vibrations and meditation, like all of that is also very, very true. But it's doing the work that most people don't want to do. It's not just, a lot of people think manifestation, like on TikTok, for example, people just want me to tell them in 30 seconds how to do the 3-6-9 method or script or do whatever, and then help them manifest their dream job, or a text back is like what everybody talks about on TikTok. I'm like, you can manifest anything and you want to text back. Are you kidding me right now? It's fine. But it's always deeper. It's always deeper. So if you really want to manifest the life of your dreams, your pipe dreams, like I like to say, because pipe dreams really just refers to that dream that you never thought could be possible for your life, but always is, then you have to be willing to look inward and to assess the linkages between how your life is right now and how things in the past have happened or beliefs have been rooted in you that are linked to how your expectation is playing out in your current reality. Yeah. So when you don't get that job, when your date stands you up, when you have a financial setback, or the vice versa of that, like when you get a really good opportunity, when you get an unexpected check in the mail, when you meet your soulmate, how your expectations leading up to that point brought it. And that's where you can start to find the links. Oh my gosh, every single time I've expected X, this has happened. But where do those expectations come from? So a lot of it is just, it's inner child work, it's soul work, it's looking back. And again, that's just what most people don't want to do. They want an easy answer, but changing your life is no easy answer. No. But once you do the work, the ROI on it is just fantastic. Like you do an hour of this, like looking back at where these beliefs came from, and all of a sudden everything starts to shift.
And that's it. An hour.
Yes.
Versus years and years of self-sabotage.
Yes. And being stuck. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And at the most, maybe 2 hours.
Yeah. At the most, yeah. Or if you want to keep pushing the envelope, just, I do EFT. It's like a 2-hour session. I do that every 2 weeks, and my life changes in insane ways because my neural pathways are changing. My expectation for my life, my definition of certain opportunities or certain amounts of money or how I view myself changes so radically that of course my life is going to change. And those tools are available to everybody, and that's why it's such exciting work.
I had a friend in Canada who taught the tapping, and then she taught me. I find it really cool. Would you tell people about it? Tell people what it is so that they understand. I think most people do know, but not really. They know they tap and things get better.
Yeah.
What I mean? It really does have a scientific, it's reworking synapses in your body and everything. It's powerful.
Yeah. I will try to explain it as best as I can, but I'll also say I have a podcast episode with my EFT practitioner, Tiffany Jeffers, and she explains it really well. I mean, she's been doing this for a decade. But the whole concept is that you tap on these meridian points. So it's the front of your eyebrow, side of your eyebrow, under your eye, and then your collarbone. And first you conjure a very strong emotion related to something. So maybe if I tell you to think back to the first time you ever got your heart broken and you really go back there, you can feel a little bit of that emotion, right? Okay, so that's just an example. Mm-hmm. Make the emotion really strong, and then you'll start to tap. And EFT practitioners like Tiffany or anyone who is trained in NLP also know that the best thing you can do is what is called defracking. So you think about the emotion, you make it really strong, and then Tiffany will say something to me like, have you ever seen a pink giraffe driving a taxi in New York City? Like she'll say something ridiculous that makes you picture something completely separate. And it gets you out of that story really quickly and starts to change the neural pathway, because we're used to, when we talk about something that upsets us, going on and on and on about it. And then we talk about it all night and we build out the neural pathway even more by just moaning about it. But that plus actually tapping, which I guess my understanding of tapping is supposed to change the energetic charge of it. So the emotion isn't really present anymore. Yeah. Takes away the emotion from it so it doesn't bother you as much. And then is also interrupting that neural pathway. And then you can build out.
It does. It actually interrupts the neural pathway. Mm-hmm. And if you're also doing the association, it's restructuring the neural pathway.
Yes.
So that's what you're doing. You're restructuring your neural pathway. So all of a sudden you will actually, it's almost like automatically giving you a new trigger. So then you think of your first love and it softens because you've also got running in your neural pathway, the elephant in the taxi in New York City or whatever.
Yeah. Or something that makes you happy, because then you hold your wrist, you say, I release and let it go. And then you go somewhere peaceful in nature. You think about a good memory. And so, then the next time you think about, it may take a few rounds, but honestly, not that many compared. I mean, it's really amazing how quickly these things work down. You think again about, oh my gosh, that was so awful when my heart was broken. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm okay. And it's really amazing. I mean, there have been times I completely have forgotten things I've worked on. Tiffany will be like, oh, let's check in about last week's session. And she'll be like, how do you feel now about blank? And I'm like, can you remind me like what that was about? And she's like, I'm not going to remind you. I'm not going to put it back in your brain, but it's like really wild. You literally will forget it. The neural pathway is gone. And then it's almost like it never happens. And you're kind of back to that fresh slate of hope and love again, or hope and, financial security and freedom, or your dreams.
It kind of reminds me of that movie where they change your memory.
Yeah.
Thing, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, it really is. Because we are just living by our memories. It's the story we tell ourselves. I think it's so fascinating what Joe Dispenza shares, that 98% of our thoughts each day are just repeat thoughts from yesterday. We're just rehearsing history. Yeah.
Think about it. How many of us are so habitual? Mm-hmm. The memories that create the habitual.
Yes.
So you get up, you get dressed the same way. You have we call it a routine. You know what I mean? But it's really, even if you didn't have the routine, you would still do it because you are a habitual person. I think when you come to that realization, then it gives you the freedom to change the routine, the habit anytime you want. Once you learn that it's only simply a habit. Yes. But the thing is, it's guided by your subconscious mind.
It is. And it's connected to emotion. That's the other thing too. Like when Joe Dispenza always talks about breaking the habit of being yourself, it's because when you wake up and start to go through that routine, you're feeling the same emotions you felt yesterday. Or like I always ask, what was the predominant emotion you felt when you were growing up? Yes. Every single day you could be rehearsing the emotion of unworthiness or frustration at the world or happiness or joy, right? But it's how you're practicing your life, living by that story. And so it's also when you change your routine, it's choosing how you're going to feel different, So that's why people going on trips, they find that to be so cathartic, because it's such a change in their routine. And then they wake up and they're like, oh, I'm in a new city. It's so explorative and adventurous. And they're not practicing the same story for a little bit. That's why we feel transformed when we come back from trips or after we stay with a friend or move somewhere. Like in my new apartment, I'm like, who am I? I have broken the habit of being myself. But
it's true. But it's breaking that habit of who we are. And that's where the world is waiting for us. It really is.
Yes.
It wasn't until, I broke the habit when I just decided to do something fun every day.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
It's what got me writing my first book. All right. I just started journaling. I got this. Well, first I wanted the fun stuff. Like, I think I want an ice cream cone today.
Naturally.
And then I wanted to go for a walk here. I wanted to do a hike, or I did different things every day. I followed through. That was the rule I made myself. Whatever I thought was fun, follow through. And then I started journaling, and I loved it so much I kept it up. I always say, it's in that fun and that creativity that you can energy of, the energy of your life, of being stuck, is that creativity. Yeah, it opens up the flow. It opens up the flow. And before you know it, and it's not serious.
Yes.
It fools your subconscious.
Yes.
Because you're only having fun.
Yeah. And it feels good and right to you. Yeah. And it's like the definition of being stuck is literally just that. You don't have that flow of energy, of that life force, of that connection to the universe. And so I almost see it as like allowing this huge flood to come through and break the dams a little bit. Just by allotting 30 minutes a day to your passion project or whatever it is that you love to do. You don't have to attach meaning to that necessarily. You don't have to be like, I'm doing this to work towards leaving my job. In fact, don't do that, because your subconscious won't let you do it. You'll sabotage yourself. Right. But just allowing, I like to ask this question. It's actually in the workbook. I make monthly workbooks for manifesting. And one of the questions that I have people ask themselves on most days is, what was your capacity for joy today? And using that as the benchmark of an authentically good day, not how much did you get done today? I mean, some days that's good, that could bring in joy, but like, how much were you present with the moment? How much did you let the moment live through you? How much did you allow yourself to laugh or have a really mindful moment with your first sip of coffee, which is my personal favorite part of the day. Yeah. But that capacity for joy, because the more that you expand that capacity, the more the universe is able to say, all right, let's just give you more joy. You have a very large container for it.
Yeah. And and you get, I love this. You get to the point where you don't want anything else either. You're on the vibration. Why in the heck do I have to feel bored? Why in the heck do I have to suffer? No, I don't think so today.
Yes.
Because it's just not, no, that's not my life, guys. You know, that's.
And extend that too. It's also that deep satisfaction with you love your life so much right now that even though you might have a dream for whatever it is, you know, for something to get bigger, you're still so happy with the current moment that that's when things can come in for you. You know, you always make your most money when you don't need another dollar and you're completely fine with the amount of money that you have. You always have the most opportunities come to you when you're so excited about what it is that you're currently doing with your life. It just happens time and time again. I remember as a kid, I had my first job at this ice cream place. I like scooped ice cream for a day. I made like $50, seemed like a lot of money. And then I remember I was so excited to spend it. And then, you know, the next day my friend's mom paid for lunch. And then like every time I was trying to spend the money, something else abundant would happen. It's because I was in that feeling of abundance. It's so small, but I always look back as like, man, that was my first indication. I was in that energy of I feel so rich. And so all these things kept getting paid for me.
How cool.
Yeah.
That is the key. It's getting the vibration. And it is, and it's powerful. And you really do have to start it by, well, I do say you start it with the fun and the gratitude, and you got to do the work.
Yes.
You know, that's why they call blocks.
Yeah.
They block the flow, you know, they block the energy flow. Everything is energy. Everything is energy coming in and out. So with your own spirituality, what are you working on now?
I would say I still see myself as like, I'm not necessarily a guppy in spirituality, but I'm a medium-sized fish.
We all.
Yeah, I'd say that I'm still, if I could be critical of myself, I'm still kind of compelled by the shiny object syndrome of spirituality where I'm like, wow, I do one EFT session around money and I make X amount. That's so exciting. I think the next step for me is to be like, okay, I'm ready to show up and do work around long held emotions that I don't really want to look at, because there's so many different emotions and beliefs that you could target. Right. And a lot of times we'll do just the bare minimum to get to an exciting place and like feel like we're distracted or whatever. But I would say where I am in my spiritual journey is ready to do almost like the ego work, you know, because I almost think like a lot of what I've manifested to date are things that look really good for my ego. Yeah. My Forbes distinctions and woo. And I think I'm ready to be like, okay, let's let go of that. Let's go back to the inner child. Yeah.
Manifesting is the big first step for everyone. They all want to manifest. That's why Abraham Hicks, because she talks about it. Bob Proctor talks about it. I mean, it's the first, and a lot of my clients come after that, you know, because it's like, okay, it happened, but now what? Yeah. It's like that. Now what? You're ready. Okay. I proved that. I do this. I think I do the same thing in my evolution. I accomplish something. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I get it. Now what? What can I learn now? You know? And it's that curiosity that keeps me evolving, you know? Mm-hmm. I want to just know. I want to feel that, whatever it is, I want to feel it. So I keep evolving, whatever it is.
Yes.
Unconditional love, that everything, whatever it is, I want to feel it. I want to encompass it, and I want to be there. So it keeps me going.
I love that, because that is I'm envisioning that as like just an open embrace to life. Like when you were a kid and you couldn't wait to wake up the next morning for the next day to start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great thing?
Yeah. I love it. It's not like, my alarm's going to go off so early another day of this BS. It's more of like, life is so exciting.
It is. You know, if we could bring that back. I used to get up and get on my bike right away. It's like, no, Mom, don't need breakfast. I just want my bike. And off I would. Yeah.
It's so fun. And we're supposed to hold on to that childlike joy, or at least return to it. A lot of spirituality, I think, is returning back to who you were when you were born, before the world told you what you couldn't be, told you how to perform. Yeah. You
know, there's child psychologists that are now studying. This is another science meeting up. Mm-hmm. In the first chakra, we always talk about the getting back to the I before you transform to the we of society and become the society. And yeah, it's really cool. So you come back to the I. So it is that child. It's that wonder. It's like coming out of the womb, totally connected. And so anyway, they have psychologists now studying. And when does the child go from the I to the we? When do they fully incorporate to the we? And they say it's around, what did she say, 4 or 5. I watched a documentary on it. I was very fascinated. 4 or 5. And they say then you just totally forget the I.
Oh.
You are totally indoctrinated into the we, the society.
Wow.
That's why so many religions, I think the Catholic religion even says, give me someone until they're their age of 5 and they'll always be a Catholic. It's because of that philosophy.
Wow.
Isn't that
Yeah.
fascinating?
Yes. That makes sense too, because, the 5 is usually when you go to preschool or kindergarten. And so you need to fit in with people. It's weird to be the kid that's hanging out by themselves. But like before that, you were okay playing for hours alone in your room, doing something creative or doing make believe. And then you get to a place where it's like
creating your world.
Not be the kid that's hanging out on your own. Yeah. You're hanging out with the other kids.
Now you have to hang out with everyone, whether you like it or not. And exactly. Creating. Yeah, it is. It is totally different. Isn't it interesting? So it's getting back to being that, really, when they say you get back to that wonder, you're getting back to being that person who was creating the worlds in their room.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Oh, that hit me.
Yeah. True?
Yeah.
Getting back to.
Yeah.
Getting back to that I. And it comes with belief. And you're doing it. You're believing. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's incredible. I think that when you think about it, you don't need to go off just some people maybe. I had a friend. I remember when I started back on my spirituality, and I had 3 boys. I was newly divorced. And my boys were 9, 8, and 7. Okay, so I couldn't go travel in the world. And she could. And she went down to the communes in India and was growing all these incredible vegetables, and she learning belly dancing and all this incredible stuff. Then she was in India, and then she was in Tibet, and then she was here. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I want that journey. It's like ultra eat, pray, love kind of thing. I want to go on.
Yes.
But I couldn't do it, and so I was home. So I thought, all right, okay, so we're going to look at the sacred land of Indiana.
I love it. Not India, Indiana.
Indiana. And we're just going to find what we can, and we are going to start to grow. And you have to start in your own your backyard.
Yeah.
And you can do it.
It's such a myth that you need to just first radically change your life. Nope. The changing your life stuff starts with the right here and right now. Finding that satisfaction and fulfillment with your life as it is now, loving your life now, which is a huge misconnect for people. They're like, no, I should do this work because I don't like my life. Well, you have to love your life. I love that we see over and over again, and spiritual teachers say, you got to first love your relationship before you leave that relationship. Otherwise, you're going to attract someone just like that person. You have to first come to a place where you can love your job. Otherwise, you're going to attract another job that also leaves you feeling unfulfilled. You'll just attract that emptiness until you find the fulfillment right here and now. And that doesn't sound fun. I get that it doesn't sound fun. You want the shiny things first, but
you do.
The present moment is where it begins.
You'll get some people I have seen, they don't feel, they're always trying to prove. You've met those people.
Yes.
Now, God, that's a heavy energy. That is a hard, and they get the position. They become the CEO. They do it, but they don't love a moment of it.
No, or they do it believing that they will love it when they get there. And then they arrive there, and it's so
earn the respect of somebody outside themselves.
Yes, which actually is just a part of their own psyche.
It is.
They're seeking their own approval.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And yet they don't get it.
Yes.
Isn't that sad?
It is.
And that's why it's so important for us to do the work before. And then it comes with so much more ease and flow. You can be a struggle, or it can come with ease and flow. I don't know. Let me think. What would I like?
I I will definitely choose, like the downstream. The Abraham Hicks book, The Astonishing Power of Emotions, talks about how everything you want is waiting at the end of the stream, where you just like surrender, let go, and go downstream. So choosing your thoughts, it's always searching for something that gives you a bit more relief or points you downstream, rather than the struggle of, no, I don't like this, or I need to change this. Just surrender, letting the universe get involved.
Speaking of surrender, so I have a question for you.
Okay.
So when in the manifesting do you surrender?
I'd actually say I now have surrendered before I even start with the manifesting.
Look at that. Good for you.
Yeah, I love what Gabby Bernstein says about infinite patience. Yeah. So in the sense of, you will get something when you don't care when it arrives. Yes. And it kind of goes back to loving your life as it is right now. My longest held dream is to be a talk show host one day.
Yes.
And and I am not one yet, but you know what? I love my life right now because I set myself up right here in my little office filming room, and I make TikToks and I feel like a talk show host. And I honestly am in a place where I don't care if I ever actually become a talk show host by the way that my younger self defined, because I'm doing it. And I love it that much. And the cool thing about that is that no matter what it is that you want to be or aspire to, there is some way to do it right now. Right. I mean, even if that's like, oh, you want to travel the world. Well, you can read books on certain countries and start to study it and watch documentaries and movies on it. Like any way that you can embody right here in the present moment what it is that you want to be or do. You don't have to, again, wait for things to radically change in your life. So
nope.
That's the exciting part about it.
In fact, I think it's important in the manifestation. It is. It's that what you have to form is that belief.
Yes.
Right? If you believe that if you have that belief that the universe has your back and that it's there, then you ask and you just start walking towards it here today, right now. Like you're the perfect example, hon. You just did it. You started your own talk show. There you go. Yeah. Now you're a talk show host. And at it, there's no way it's not going to happen now.
Yes.
And you just surrender it. You know, you're done. You're walking the walk. You believe it's done. It's a surrender.
Yeah. And it's a trust too. I mean, trust and surrender are kind of like the same word. But trusting that I was given this desire for a reason. Trusting that the right people and circumstances and opportunities will come to me as a result. The one thing that I have to do is just keep coming back to my center, keep connecting to the universe because it's trying to be expressed through me, right? We're all vessels for that. Our greatest joy and desire, sometimes we think, oh my gosh, it's so selfish to want the things that I want. It's just going to benefit me to have this big career or whatever. No, if you're called to do it, it's because the universe is trying to express something through you that is going to impact the collective.
I couldn't have said it better. That's excellent. That's exactly true. Bob Proctor used to say, you never get an idea. Your imagination isn't that great that you can't hold it in your hand.
Yes.
Everything you can imagine, you can hold in your hand. Mm-hmm. And why is that? Because you're being fed it.
Mm-hmm. So
you are being fed it. And the universe can only create through us.
Yes.
We are there. Yeah, we're co-creators.
Yes.
That's
why we're here.
It all just pulls together like it's supposed to. You know?
It's so perfect. Like there's no kinks in it. Especially like when that's the exciting part is how it expands our understanding to even talk with each other. Because you and I have both done so much independent research and we work with people on this and we've had our own journeys and we can come together and expand our own capacity for understanding this because I don't think we'll ever get to a place where we fully understand all of it, which is really exciting. Like think about how vast the universe is, but every little step gets us closer.
So funny because you're young. I'm trying because 2018. Yeah, you're young. When I was around your age, I was more of an incompetent consciousness. Like in other words, I was doing it, but I didn't know it.
Yeah.
And so the only danger of that is you can be knocked off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people saying, well, you really need to be doing this, Alena. But see, you're a conscious competent. You know what you're doing. You know what I mean? You will not be knocked off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what do you do? Have you ever had a manifestation that hasn't come true?
Yep. The one I always like to use, this one sounds so funny, but I really wanted a Porsche a few years ago.
Oh,
yes. I had just become a big motivational speaker and
Porsche.
I wanted this beautiful Porsche Macan, white GTS, red interior. Oh my gosh. I did the visualization every single day of driving it. And just none of it was coming to fruition. It was so strange. It's like, yeah, I could afford it. But like even every time I'd look at ones that were available to buy or to lease or whatever, just things just weren't coming together. And then I got the insight or the spark or whatever you want to call it that I needed to move to New York City. And when I signed the lease on my apartment, I had this moment of like, no wonder it didn't come to fruition. Like, what would I have done? Really, I would have signed like a lease on a car for like 28 months or whatever, and then moved to New York City.
Oh my God, parking.
Yeah. So I think sometime now that's why I just have trust. Something isn't happening. It's going to make sense one day.
That's true. If something is not manifesting, it's because it's not time.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
That's
or you haven't done like I've always tried to manifest like a large following on a social platform, because I always just felt like I was going to be a voice for many, many, many people. And that just was never coming. And then I realized when I looked closer how much I was resisting it coming because I was scared of being seen.
Guys, it's time. These are the days. These are your days. Don't waste them. Get up in the morning and begin. Just say, these are my days. What am I going to do? How am I going to serve? How am I going to bring sunshine into my life? How am I going to bring that peace into my life? How am I going to bring that overjoyed happiness into my life? What little things, little baby strategic steps am I going to do this? And do it. That's all it is. Isn't that cool? I love you all. As you know, spirit is love.
This has been Magical Moments with Alena, featuring Alena Chapman. If you missed an episode, download it now on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, CastBox, Deezer, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform. Learn more online at soulmanifesto.com.
Podcasts by Federated Media.